Welcome to another episode of Delay the Binge, the podcast about the pause before the behavior when life gets hard. I'm your host, Pam Dwyer, best-selling author, keynote speaker, and creator of the Delay the Binge framework, where we explore how small moments of awareness become lasting transformation. Today's guest believes something that immediately caught my attention. The problem isn't that successful women aren't trying hard enough. It's that many of us have spent years trying to solve stress by doing more. My guest is Dorota Wasik, founder of Boss Up Your Life and creator of the Regulated Success Method. While continuing to serve in a senior leadership role at Big Four professional services firm, Dorota helps ambitious women understand the root cause of chronic stress, not just manage the symptoms. Drawing on psychology, neuroscience, mindfulness, and her own lived experience, she helps women create success that actually feels sustainable. My favoriteest thing. Dorota, welcome to Delay the Binge.
Thank you so much, Pam, for having me. And thank you for a beautiful introduction. I've just been
I know you're like, I forgot I did all that.
Is it all about me? Thank you so much.
Yes, it is all about you. We're going to honor you today with this little interview. So before we dive in, though, into today's conversation, I always like to find out what's bringing you joy these days outside of your work.
Oh, I have to say very little small moments. I'm very lucky that I have a wonderful family. I'm very lucky that I have two girls that gives me the hugs every 5 minutes, sometimes like that. But those little things. I'm very lucky I live in Scotland by the beach. I've got 10 minutes down to walk and put my feet in the water. I love strolling along the beach, especially when we have amazing summer, which is very unusual for Scotland, but I couldn't ask for more. So yeah, I'm not big on big things. I'm quite happy with, little small moments and, just enjoying the weather, the sunshine. And now we're into the summer, which I'm looking forward. I'm going to go to Poland for a month and enjoy time with my family, friends, walks with my mom. So yeah.
I love that. And I love to hear the small moments because they do matter. It's what helps us know who we are and gives us such happiness. I'm so happy to hear that. Now, since you're joining us from Scotland, which I think is the coolest thing ever, if I came to visit you this weekend, what's a place or an experience you'd tell me I couldn't miss?
I don't think I'll be able to give you one thing. Like Scotland is just, if you come to Scotland, you probably need to come here for at least 2 weeks.
Oh, that's great advice.
Yeah, because there is a lot of beautiful places. And if you love nature, like Scotland is quite a vast area. And, from Edinburgh, an amazing festival over the summer. Fringe Festival is the one that, everyone from US is coming. We've got international, like the Edinburgh is heaven in the summer, but it's like the festival is amazing. Two beautiful places up north, the Highlands, the lakes, the Isles, different Isles. Isle of Skye is, one of the most beautiful places in Scottish beaches are, topping the charts of the top world beaches in the world. So yeah.
Well, it's definitely on my bucket list. I'm going to make it over there eventually.
But obviously anyone who plays golf, there is a golf course every 2 miles.
I have a friend that plays golf and she just goes on and on. She's actually been to Scotland and played golf and she's just like, there's nothing like it. So,
yeah.
Well, you balance a senior leadership role, your coaching practice, and motherhood.
Yep.
What's just a typical day look like for you? Is it just hectic, busy, or is it just like you said, small moments, just taking it as it comes?
So it is busy. Being in a full-time job in the corporate world, is they like every day you start with days, calendar full of meetings. tons of emails and chat messages waiting for you every single day and happening, all day long. Then I've got my business, which is something I do outside of work. So that's something I need to carve out time in the evenings. In between, obviously, looking after, it's just me and my husband. We don't have any family support because we live away from the family. So yeah, dealing with our 7 and 11-year-old girls, chauffeuring them around. So yes, my day is busy, but I think what has changed for me is that busy doesn't mean stressful.
Yes, I've read that, and we're definitely going to go there.
Oh yes, the important thing is being organized, being efficient, being able to focus on what matters, and do things that move you in the direction, the long-term direction, because it's easy just to try to do the next thing, and that next thing, it's not necessarily actually taking you in the right direction, or is doing good, anything good. But I think the issues that many people have is they don't really understand what matters and what doesn't matter. They treat everything as important.
Yes, trying to do 120% on all of it.
All of it, yes. And absolutely, I'm far away from being perfectionist. And I've shed a lot of guilt over the years as well.
Well, I hate to say it, but I can relate so well. And I think a lot of women can understand what you're talking about because, okay, as a coach, you're still living in the same environment that your clients describe to you every day.
Yeah. And it's really important for me to be in
yes,
that.
It is very important. Has continuing to work inside that environment, does it shape the way you coach?
It definitely shapes the way I coach because I can relate. I haven't removed myself from the environment because at the moment I can, like my coaching, works with the full-time job. So I can do it, but I'm keen to be around in that environment for as long as I can, because then I can feel the pulse. I understand what people can, struggling with. I understand what they've gone through because I live in the same environment. I understand the struggles. So I think it's really important as a coach that you can relate to people that you talk to.
Oh my gosh, you can educate yourself all day long, but lived experience, that's the best teacher in the world.
Absolutely.
In
you
the
can
world.
All the books, but, but it's fantastic. But if you can't relate to someone, it's really difficult.
Because you can't possibly understand, and then how do you help them?
Yeah.
You can't relate.
Yeah.
Yeah. I loved this one sentence on your website, and it said, I tried to manage stress by doing more. And you said that briefly earlier. Why is it? That's where many ambitious women begin. Why are women so driven? I don't think I've ever met a woman that is not in one way or another.
It's a really good question. It's probably, it's a big topic on its own, right?
Yeah.
But if I try to describe it in, a few sentences or give my version, I've spent a lot of time thinking about it because that's exactly where I was. So trying to understand what has been driving me for a very, very long time. And then what do I do with it? How do I change? But I think it comes from, so for me, if I take myself back to childhood, I was very, open child. I was very much, I love to perform. So I've never been a shy person, but equally, I think I was also raised in an environment that had a lot of strong women that were thriving and having businesses and, and quite strong characters.
Yeah.
And my grandma was, always been a very big, like one of the biggest role models for me. But her way of, her career looked like she was a chartered accountant like me, but she was never home. Like my granddad used to get really annoyed with her, and he had no idea when she's going to come home. She said she'll be for 5, but she was home for 10. But back in the days, there was no cell phones. So if she was somewhere in transit or busy, in the office dealing with something, she couldn't, call home. So I grew up in that environment that success meant being constantly on the move. She was always on the move. She was an amazing woman. But that taught me that to be successful, you have to be like her. And it worked, because she was that kind of post-war, generation that was trying to, get better and get something, build the wealth and things like that. And it was a valid behavior and something that was important to do in that, for that generation.
Yeah.
But then, so then as a child, I was always complimented and tapped at the back for being the one that, speaks out, that talks, that performs, that thrives. And, that slowly, has built up and shaped the way I thought that if I do more, I get a pat on the back, that I'm worth something, I'm capable. Then I went to school and I was good at school. Well done. You can do more and you more and you more. Then I left to come to Scotland. I was working full time and studying full time. And I never thought twice that this is too much. I just thought, because I can do it, I'm just going to do more, and I do more. Then then I had a job. Then I had children. And again, I was like, I can handle it all because I'm invincible. I'm a superwoman. And I've always been praised for these things. So it's like, it's like little curving. You're being boiled almost like a frog, right? And you do it then to yourself. When you're little, you build that. Like the society and the family, unconsciously, right? They all
right.
do
The brain is thinking it's a safe place. That's what the brain is learning.
Absolutely. It's a safe place. It's a familiar place. You get praised for it, so you feel good. So you want to do more of it. So unconsciously, you just grew up in it. And then you go to work, and then all the other environments are just reinforcing the same message. So this is why when we grown up women, the problem is that because we are in such a go mode all the time, that we never get a chance to stop and say, does that serving us anymore? I had a conversation this morning with someone, and she said to me, oh my God, like I'm completely burned out, but I haven't seen it coming. I was like, yes, you have not seen it coming because you were like this little frog in the pot. Slowly, turning the heat on to the point that you just can't hold it anymore.
I love that.
And while not everyone likes the frog, but that's it, right?
Yeah.
And it's not judgmental. It's not criticizing anyone. Neither our families, how we grew up is because everyone is trying our best, and every single parent is trying to, like be the best parents and make sure that we shape the best individuals. And then, but it's just the reality, right?
Yeah.
And it's only now when conversations like this become public and mainstream, right? These conversations have not been in the mainstreams, a few years ago. These things were known to psychologists, maybe in the therapy room, but not necessarily, something that's been quite widely available for people to then start thinking and stopping and asking yourself, how many years can I live like this? And at what cost?
Well, because eventually the body takes over. It will start taking a physical toll. And I really believe that's why most of us are all just sick. And so many women are saying, the doctor will tell you, your labs look great, Pam, you're fine. And I always ask, why am I so tired? All the time I'm so tired. And they never have an answer for me. But now we're sharing with as many people that will listen why we are so tired. And this is the reason.
Absolutely.
I wonder if part of what makes this so difficult is that achievement, being thriving and being the best, it quietly becomes part of our identity. It's who we think we are. If we've spent decades believing our value came from producing, right? Achieving, fixing, taking care of everyone else, who are we then when we stop? I see it in my clients all the time. I think they're afraid. They're not going to know who they are if they stop these things that are not serving them. Do you think that's why slowing down feels so uncomfortable for so many?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I couldn't agree more with what you just said. That's exactly been my journey. back in the days, even if I take myself 2 years ago.
Yeah.
If it used to be a running joke. I used to say, like, if it was messy in a living room, I would say, well, I haven't been in the living room for like 2 weeks. I would not sit on the couch because it just felt counterproductive. Why would I sit on a couch? Like, if I could do something, I could clean, I could reshuffle. If I'm not working, there is always something you could do.
Yeah.
And absolutely, we have attached our value and who we are to the output we produce. And if there is no output, we feel empty. Who am I if I'm not doing something constantly? And it's really, really, really difficult. And you have to be really honest with yourself when you go through that, that self work and that identification and realizing that. And it is a huge transformation to then realize, to be fine with just who you are without attaching any labels.
Yep.
Yes. And not saying that, in order for you to be someone and be good enough and be appreciated by others, you need to get the feedback. You need to get a pat at the back. You have to be told by someone else that you are good, because you can't think of yourself that you're good enough until you get that validation from someone externally.
Exactly. That's just been drilled into our heads, and many of us are afraid we won't recognize ourselves without all the striving, all the working.
I don't think many women don't even know who they are.
They don't. Yes, you are right. I see it more and more.
The one exercise that I do in my workshop is I'll ask women to think about 5 top values that they are kind of the guiding stars of how how they live. And often then I ask a question. Now, if you could pick up 5 values when no one is looking, nobody's judging, nobody's telling you anything, you will not get any criticism or any comment. If you are absolutely free to choose what are your true values, how many of those values are the same values as on the first list? Because often a lot of the values that drive our behaviors are the values that have been borrowed or inherited.
Gosh, that's profound. And I love that you've given a little exercise for us to try, because a lot of people are talking about this issue, but going no further. If I understand something, I'm like, okay, that makes sense. And I think that I am doing this thing that's not serving me, but now what do I do? That's what's so beautiful about a coach, that you can take them through step by step. I noticed you wrote, on the outside, everything worked. On the inside, you talked about your nervous system never shutting off. When your nervous system doesn't shut off, what does that actually look like in everyday life?
For me and for the women I coach and I talk to, there are many of my friends, and I have to say that has no borders. There are my friends from school in Poland, whether it's primary, high school, or my friend from work in Scotland or wherever else, we all have, similar things. When your nervous system doesn't shut down or you can't regulate it to calm, because there will always be moments, right? So healthy state should be, something happens, but then you have ability to regulate and calm down, and something happens and you're able to notice and regulate. But if we are constantly at this peak, in the fight or flight mode, when our nervous system is in that stress response, you constantly feel brace, right? You wake up in the morning and you're already feeling tense.
Yeah.
And that tension, the impact of that tension and that stress, being in that permanent stress mode, has a profound impact, which I don't think many people realize what it does to them on a day-to-day basis. Right. It's from the morning you get downstairs and see your kids, how rushed you are, how quickly you push them through the door, and how irritated you get really quickly if they don't tell them, quickly move, and they don't follow, the command. And I had the same with my 7-year-old who loves to throw a good tantrum in the morning, 2 minutes before we have to get through the door, to then how you show up at work and how you already checking the emails and how you respond to people at work, how you show up in the meetings, how you think about, when you are in the leadership role, you give strategic direction. And your vision is like, the thinking is narrow when you're stressed.
Mm-hmm.
It impacts you, your performance, your team, because your team feels the energy of you. They say they don't follow what you say, they follow who you are and your state. So if you are tense and stressed and rushed, your team will be exactly the same. And then you'll feel the outcomes of it.
Yeah.
And then you come back home and you have present at the dinner table or not even there because you're checking your emails and already bracing yourself for all the things you have tomorrow. You're rushing through the bedtime, if you have children, or you're snapping at your partner because you just had enough, because you had to be at best behavior. But I like to compare that stage the same way as if anyone have children, how your child have to go to school, and especially you have those free-willed children, that wild child that have to go to school and be on the best behavior all day. And then come home. And because they can be themselves, they just go, crazy.
Yeah.
And we do that too, because we had to be on behavior. Yeah, we're already stressed, but we have to be on best behavior at work. When we come home, actually our loved one gets probably the worst of us. Because this is where we say, oh, I just had enough. Like I can be now myself. And it obviously gets, it takes the toll in our relationships. But, that's like an iceberg, right? You and I know, like I had IBS.
Yeah.
All my life. And I was told it's just something you deal with, like anyone get labeled IBS if you have something wrong with, like when you get pain, stomach, pain or, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, for last 2 years.
Oh gosh.
So it comes back to the health issues.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think for me, ability to manage the state and to bring yourself down to it is like foundation for everything. Because the other thing, which I think people realize, and it's going back to the point we've discussed earlier about doing more to manage the stress. So picking up another habit, another tool, leadership tool, being better organized. So you add to your work, or try to sort out or get rid of the stress by being more productive, using another efficiency tool, etc., etc. But for me, and I've tried it, and there is a lot of science, obviously evidence behind it, is that none of those habits will stick if you are in permanent level of stress. Because you will always go back to your old patterns when you're under stress. You have no ability to even try to build the habit, which takes time to do.
Yeah.
Because in any moment when you have elevated stress, you just get to go back to the survival mode and you're just trying to survive, right?
Right.
So you're not open to building anything and trying to change anything, because in order to change something and build a new habit and try to, you need the space. So you need to be in a calm and relaxed state to be able to be aware, because when you build a habit, you have to be aware and catch yourself in the moments that you're slipping off that habit. Whether it's you go trying to, this is why New Year's resolution don't work.
I am going to take that clip of what you just talked about, and save it for all my podcasts, because we talk about something called quiet depletion.
Yeah.
It's hidden patterns that slowly drain us before we even realize anything is wrong. And you just described it perfectly, because they say that quiet depletion affects over 70% of women. And that's why they turn to unhealthy behaviors, because just like the anger you were talking about when we snap at our children or our spouses, it's the brain is so exhausted, it's looking for a dopamine hit.
Yeah.
And arguing getting angry creates dopamine. It is a physical response to the exhaustion. Why do intelligent, capable women wait until they're exhausted before believing they deserve help or even thinking they need help? They just ignore it. Is that what you see too?
I do. And I've been one of them.
Yeah, me too.
And I think it's because we think we are invincible. I think we've been taught that, right? And the society kind of, has helped us to convince ourselves that we can deal with everything by ourselves. We don't really need help. Like, we can do it all. Like, we are superwomen, right? If we can handle children, we can get to the top. We can be everything for everyone. Why can't we? We are fine. But equally, I think unhelpfully, we are reinforcing those messages between ourselves, because you talk to other women and they say, "Oh, I'm also tired. I'm dying."
Yes.
It's a norm. It's fine. Everyone is like this. If everyone is like this, like, how am I supposed to change? It's just part of, it's just part of life.
Yes, there's a famous saying in my family. We always say, it is what it is.
Yes.
I always challenge that. I said, no, it doesn't have to be like that.
Yeah.
There are ways to slowly create new patterns. It can't be done all at once. You can't undo a lifetime of behaviors that your brain has learned and keeps you safe. It takes slow, intentional steps.
The other thing, I think it's really important to say that also successful women think that they can't stop. Because if they stop, that means that people will notice that they are not constantly doing something, and they may lose the position.
Status. Yes. That or they don't ask for help because they don't think anybody can do it right. They can't do it the way they would do it. So they just do it. I've heard so many women say that. They're like, no, we can't rely on help because they never get it done right in the way that I need it done.
Oh, yes. Absolutely. Yeah.
Oh.
Absolutely.
One thing I appreciate about your work is that you challenge the obvious answers. You say stress isn't really a time management problem. So if it's not about time, what do you think it's really about?
Oh, this is where I get into my favorite subject. It's stress does not happen because of situation we get experience.
Yeah.
It's really important, and I think it's really important to understand that any stress that arises in our body is our response. Because at the end of the day, it's the meaning the stress is created, or any emotions that is created at the back of a situation that we, or experience that we have, is created by the meaning that we have attached to the situation. So in a simple way is something has happened in the past, so we experience life through our past experience. Mm-hmm. So if there were any situations that we experienced in the past, that something was, had a negative effect on us, we'll just take the same experience and apply it to any other situations we have. Yeah. So it's our interpretation of reality and our internal narrative about the situation that's actually causing us all the stress. Because I've done the experiments when I did my meditation and mindfulness teacher accreditations. We had those exercises that you've been given a situation, and it was a situation as your friend is walking along on the other side of the road, and you wave to that friend, and she kind of briefly, raises her head, like her head up, briefly looks at you and just walks away. What do you think?
Well, I would think, what did I do?
Exactly. Every single person in the 15, amongst the 15 people we had in the group had a different response. So it's not the situation itself, it's you doing it through your own lens. Because you may have some, insecurities about yourself. You immediately trying to blame yourself for a situation, right?
Right.
But there were people that responded, "Oh, what's wrong with her? That's her not normal behavior." So there are people who are worried about that person rather than looking inside themselves. And there were a variety of different, but the conclusion is same with the email, right?
Yeah.
There'll be times when there are emails coming, and before you even open the email, you have no idea what's in that email. But before that even happened, you already have allergic reaction to it. And it's nothing to do with actually what's in the email. Because the email can say, "I would love for you to come with me to lunch." So you have no idea, but you're already bracing.
I see. Yeah.
So we go on the stress loop every single day, or in that loop that there is a situation, you attach a meaning, which then creates the emotion. And then you take an action based on that emotion. And that loop happens before your brain even consciously start thinking and analyzing what's happening. So you go through that loop, and this is what we call autopilot, right? We live, I think, 80% on autopilot. And we get stressed without even realizing we're getting stressed. And we never pause to try to challenge ourselves. Why do we actually get stressed about something?
Mm-hmm.
And for me, that was an absolute light bulb moment. And one single thing that completely changed how I experience anything on day-to-day basis. Because I've used that loop to challenge myself. And because I'm in tune with my body, and I can quickly spot the feeling of stress or anxiety or frustrations building up, I can quickly nip it in the bud and say, what's going on? Why am I getting stressed? Somebody said something. Why am I getting stressed? And
it makes all the difference in the world.
And it's really important to add that the first response is never really the response. It's never a true reason why you get stressed, because often the first response, if we ask ourselves, why am I getting stressed, will point to the external world. But if you sit down with yourself and ask maybe 5 times why, really, you get to the point that there is something here inside that is driving the stress. It's always come back to ourselves, whether it's our belief about who we are, usually.
Mm-hmm.
What's driving our behavior, the limiting belief we have about ourselves, whether it's we're worthy or not worthy enough.
Yeah.
That's driving that situation. And sometimes people don't want to do this work because it's difficult.
Mm-hmm.
Point inside, because it's easy to just point outside and say, oh, it's the amount of emails or to-do lists, or to do things, or somebody said something hurtful to me and I'm getting stressed or really upset. But it's usually something inside.
It is. And we just take ownership of other people's emotions when there is a pain or something like that going on inside of us. We will absorb it instead of reflect it back, because it's not our emotions to own. Our own. We know how we feel. We can control how we feel, but we forget that we cannot control what other people do or say. But then you're saying, we talk a lot about it on this show about the pause before, how pausing before the behavior is the best thing you can do when life gets hard. And whether it's emotional eating, people pleasing is a big one, anger, overworking, or just shutting down. There's always that moment before the reaction. And that's why it's so important. And there's so many scientific reasons too. I'm so obsessed with the neuroscience of everything, but how it operates and how to understand what's happening. The pause, like you said, it opens up a moment for you to understand what's really going on.
Yeah. It's like a wedge in the door, right? Into the broaden your awareness. Because until you have that moment to ask that question, you have no ability to change anything. You'll keep just going on the loop over and over until you break.
Yeah, in one way or another. Yes.
One way or the other. Yeah, absolutely.
I love how you talk about the nervous system regulation. Do you think that the pause makes it possible to regulate that nervous system?
I think it's fundamental to it.
Okay. Yeah.
So I do it every day. And when you mentioned emotional eating, I was like nodding, because I can see if I don't take enough pauses in the day, if I don't spend enough time with myself meditating or doing some breath work during the, whatever time in the day, I can see next day by the evening, I'm looking for something to crunch on. And I like crunchy stuff in the evening, because I think that releases the tension from my jaws and it gives me a bit of that, stress, like releasing the stress from my body when I snack in the evening.
Yep.
So yes, I think fundamentally, like micro pauses, like you don't have to sit for hours, but starting with micro, 30 seconds to a minute pause, because that's more powerful than we think. I think we love a really complicated solutions to problems. But I think the more simpler, the more powerful things are. Like I started my whole journey by doing 10 minutes meditation for 21 days. And the shift I've seen like in myself was quite profound.
Mm-hmm.
But what I do is like in between meetings, I take just 3 long breaths, like just to ground myself.
Yes.
And I can see a shift in then the way I bring myself to a meeting. Like the way my brain works, the way I'm able to zoom in and zoom out, like the focus I get, the listening, and how I retain and how I can quickly actually analyze things. So I'm a risk management professional by background. So I do a lot of, I do talk about a lot of, we make a lot of risk decisions.
Yes.
And science says you can't make a good risk decision if you are stressed. You actually, but if you are managed to able to actually pause and bring yourself to calm,
yeah,
you make quicker decision, but they are more, because you make them from the awareness state, they are much better risk decision. And you should take more risks, actually, funny enough, when you are calm, because you are not in that flight and fight mode. Whether when you actually in stress mode, you avoid taking risks. So as a business person, when you work in the business, you need to take risks, right?
Yeah, you have to
grow.
Yeah.
But so those little micro pauses are actually really excellent leadership tools for people to take those pauses and moments of, to bring themselves to the calm state in between really important board meetings, any big decisions that are needed to be made.
Exactly. And the autopilot you mentioned earlier is so common in the workplace. People are just on autopilot. And I will share with you, I haven't shared with too many people, but before every interview I do on my podcast, I take my shoes off and I walk outside in the backyard on the grass and I just breathe. I'm doing my breathing exercises. And it's not because I'm nervous. It makes me sharper. It makes me be a better host for you, the guest, so I can honor your work better. And that's all I really want to do.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. I jump on the trampoline first thing in the morning.
Oh, you do? That's fun.
But I also walk barefoot. And yesterday, in between meeting, I literally ran outside and I just lied on the ground like this for 5 minutes.
And look up at the sky.
Look out the sky. It was a beautiful day as well. You don't get many of those days in Scotland, so it's just But yes, those little moments, and not everyone have the luxury to run outside, in between meetings to put your feet up. But just closing your eyes and just doing some breaths, putting some music on, like classical music does wonders, or any, meditation music, and just quiet, just watch your thoughts for 3 minutes.
Yes. And thank you so much for sharing with us your struggle, the food being an issue. Out of all the reasons people binge, and there's so many, it's not just food, though it is a big one. And people are on autopilot, don't even realize they've consumed an entire bag of chips.
Yeah.
So, and we always say, buy the big bag of chips, but put them in small Ziploc bags But there's the small steps you were talking about, because they eat that. They're not hungry.
No.
Their body just wants relief. So
Absolutely.
looking back, food was your unhealthy behavior then
It was
at one time?
One was, for a very long time. I would be fine, but I think it happens to many of us. We talk about, the willpower is really low by the evening.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the willpower. It's just we are so tired and so stressed. And these things, whether it's scrolling on the phone or having those crisps at 10 o'clock at night with a glass of wine, it's just like, it's almost like it gives you like this relief, right? You feel like the tension is leaving in your body. Or you almost have this compulsive eating, right? I had those moments of compulsing it. I would and I wouldn't even enjoy the eating. It's just the motion of crunching on something.
Yeah.
Gave me that release. But as I said, it took, I'm not gonna lie, it's not like a miracle overnight.
No.
It took me a while, but I can now confidently say that I'm very religious about my evening breathing.
Mm-hmm.
Those micro pauses, I don't always have time for meditation, because sometimes, like today, I forgot to put my alarm clock on and we were running, we were just on time for school. So I don't have luxury to do it in the morning. But I'm very intentional through the day to have those micro pauses. Yep. Instead of reaching for the phone to scroll or, try to give me that, escape from work for in between the meetings, which many of us have, I'm sure. But that evening ritual, because yes, I'm going to go to bed 10 minutes late. And I mean about 10 minutes, not more, 10, 15 minutes of breathing, right?
Right.
But the benefits of that 10 minutes of breathing meditation every night is like 100-folds. And I've genuinely seen, I actually question myself, because it was such a habit, such behavior for such a long time. Then when I actually came to the one evening and I was like, I actually don't feel like snacking or anything, I've questioned maybe I'll try. It's like you're almost like trying to force yourself to do something which you don't even fancy doing anymore. But because you've always been doing it for so long, you just feel like you ought to do that. I should have, because this is what I do when I check my emails, when girls go to bed. Right? I sit on my laptop, do something and I snack. And yes, because I do something else, it's just I don't know how much I've eaten by the end of the evening. But I just genuinely felt and I've challenged myself. I stood, in the kitchen floor and I was like, oh, I actually feel like I don't fancy it. I don't fancy it anymore. So it's but if I miss 1 or 2 days, the feeling comes back.
Yes.
So it's not something that you can stop and just forget about all the good things you are doing. You need to do it. It's like brushing your teeth at night.
Yeah, exactly. We have to brush our teeth. Awareness is a beautiful, beautiful thing. But first you got to get curious, because a lot of people don't even know that these are causing the issue, their behaviors. And they don't realize that they're on autopilot. And awareness isn't the finish line. You can read a great book. You can listen to, like you said, a podcast or attend a workshop even. And then Monday morning comes, the inbox is full, the child's melting down, the meeting is over, life gets hard again. So how do you help someone move from understanding to actually living this every day, maintaining their progress?
I think one thing is to be said is that we are all on our different paths and at different stages of the journey.
Yeah.
And not everyone is ready. Right? And you can't force people to do something when they're just not ready, right? So you have to, I think for everyone, there comes the time when you realize, and it will be a different time in their life, and that they're actually ready to put some work. Right? No one will commit and then sustain that commitment.
Yes.
And be consistent. And I think it's really important to say that this is where having a coach is quite key, because I don't know about our listeners, and about you, Pam. But when it comes to consistency, I need someone to keep nagging at me, because this work I did myself, but it took me a long time. Yeah. If I had someone to coach me and have some accountability, and a deadline, they'll have to come and speak to someone every week to say, what have I done? We in high achieving, we love a good deadline. Yes. We love accountability. So having a coach or having someone that one will cheer you up, like cheer you on, clap, blow, in your wings for you, to help you, but equally relate and listen to your struggles. It's really important.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that so much, because I think transformation rarely happens in one conversation. Sometimes one person, a coach, helps us understand what's happening or why, and helps us also build new skills. And sometimes we simply need someone that walks beside us while we practice responding differently until it becomes a new normal. Transformation is a process, and it takes time.
Yeah, it takes time. And I think another important role of a coach is not everyone can ask themselves difficult questions, or, where the coach can ask those questions. And equally, coach is almost like a mirror, right? Where sometimes you see yourself and you'll be able to realize something much quicker than if you're having to go through it by yourself.
Yeah. You don't have to be alone in it. You really don't.
But I think, as you said, the transformation requires time, requires commitment, dedication, honesty.
Yeah.
And a lot of empathy and kindness, which I think we talk about being kind to others. But oh my God, how unkind we are to ourselves.
Exactly. I always say kindness is like a superpower, because it helps the giver and the receiver, but especially if you turn it in on yourself. Be kind to yourself, people.
Yeah, absolutely. So yes. But I have to say to everyone that's listening and consider going on the journey, like, you can be successful. I haven't changed anything. The only thing I did is actually added to my life in terms of how much responsibilities I have. And I've never been calmer, and I still get stressed. But the way how quickly I can come back from that stress moment, I can do it within minutes. Rather than, spiraling and then thinking, overthinking, going to bed and still thinking about it and dreaming about it and coming back and waking up with anxiety in the middle of the night and couldn't go back to sleep.
And reacting. And one way or another.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
It spans across all areas of life.
It really does. I'm thinking about right now, one of my favorite stories that you've shared about mornings with your daughter. You realize she wasn't really the first one who needed to change. That had to be such a humbling realization. Can you talk about that?
Yes. So I have to say that, my journey has been quite deep into also spirituality and a lot of quite deep psychology and working with inner child and mirror. And I do believe, actually, if I look at my daughters, they are my mirrors. They mirror different behaviors. So my 7-year-old, I keep saying it to everyone, my 7-year-old is everything I wished I was, but I couldn't. She is the loudest, the least apologetic. She says what she thinks. She couldn't care less. She's just being herself. Mm-hmm. And if she fancies shouting, she shouts and she says, "Mommy, I love shouting. I can't stop." Because this is releases her stress.
Yeah.
But it doesn't, to say that she is, she brought me a lot of challenge, but she was my biggest coach. Like, I haven't been given that much leadership training or mindfulness training, and how I manage the daily stresses. It's all due to her daily tantrums 2 minutes before getting to school and me trying to get on the train to get to work.
Gosh.
And she would scream about like pants being not right, the socks being too small, the socks being too big. But what I realized is if I get into stress and I start rushing her, I'm just adding to that fire. Like it's getting out of control. And one thing I've realized, and I think it's, any parents listening to this, I would really challenge you to try that. If you have that situation with child, or actually, you could apply it to any situation really. But I was in that situation. 2 minutes into the door, she would put a shoe on and it would kick a tantrum because there was something in the shoe. And she was like, I'm not going anywhere. Situation happened, but I have a choice. I could get stressed or I could just sit there and wait what else is going to happen. Because if I was to get stressed, that wouldn't change the situation. I'm going to be late anyway. So me having those emotions is not going to change the outcome of that situation. But me getting stressed will then impact it will impact her, because whether we like it or not, when we get stressed, it just goes, it just translates to how our children behave. So it will make her even stressed and get her spiraling out of control. And then I'll go to work stuff, really, already in bad mood, already, like braced and stressed out of, and it will impact, at the rest of my day, right?
Yeah.
Or I can just breaths and just sit on the, sitting on the stairs like, okay, well, what do we do then? Like just being stressed doesn't change the situation. Once I've realized that, is the opposite happened. Like when I actually just chill out, she comes back down much quicker. And you know what? Often then we actually on time.
Yes. If you freak out with her, it's just going to grow, like you said, like a fire.
Yeah, it's going to get out.
But your calmness calmed her.
Yeah.
And that's what our kids need from us anyway.
Yeah. But that's any situation. Like the situation happens. You having certain emotion reaction. And I know, and it's something you need to try over and over. It's not something that you can learn in a day. But once you really understand that your stress response is not helping, is actually biting you at the backside. It's actually, it's hurting you more than anyone else.
Yes.
And if you can get on top of it and actually control it, bring it back down, like you actually, things will happen. Like the situation's over. Like the game is over.
Yeah.
Like, so the only person that's affected by you getting stressed is you, which means you get sick. Your reactions at work are, you snappy, you hurt someone because then you're going to say something then you regret in a conversation. Nothing else.
Yes. And lateness seems to make a lot of people freak out and stressed. And it can, on the road, if someone's running late, they're dangerous. I can't tell you how many times I've almost gotten into an accident because all I'm thinking about is getting there quickly. And it really doesn't help. You're going to get there at the same time.
Exactly that. That's like that. That's what, that's like, if we realize that like internal stress will not speed things up. Like you will still be stuck in that traffic. That train is still going to be late. But how you show up to that first meeting that you may be late for is purely due to the state that you will be at. So if you arrive calm, you may be late, but you'll still make an impact in that meeting. But if you stress, it's not going to go as well.
I guess that's why my family mantra of it is what it is can really help you mentally, gives you some clarity. It is what it is. What can I do about it?
Yeah. And equally, as the letting go, right? Like you can't control what you can control, but what you control, and is what's fundamental to your own happiness and the quality of your life, is your state. And often we try to control everyone else and everything outside, but we forget about what's most important, which is ourselves.
Motherhood, it can teach you a lot about leadership. Yes.
It does.
Patience and all that. You said something that I loved. You don't ask women to become less ambitious, right? I think we're wired that way. I think many women hear conversations like this one and they immediately think, oh no, someone wants me to lower my standards. What is the difference between that comment and not asking women to become less ambitious? They don't have to change their drive, correct? In order to apply these things.
Absolutely. The only thing I'm asking women is to pause.
Yeah.
Because that pause gives them the leadership advantage, actually. When in the context of their career, I've seen leaders on both sides. I've seen leaders who are stressed out to their bones, and I've seen the calmest leader I've ever experienced, like the most wonderful leaders out there. And the difference is the state. The ones that are constantly stressed out are the ones that's like little rabbits in the grass. They don't see what's going on. They're just running in front of them. And as soon as they see a danger, they just maneuver in between. And it's and then the team follows and you're just going, God knows where, right?
Yeah, right.
Or you have, it's like an eagle, right? When you are able to see the bigger perspective when you come. You understand what is your strategic priority. You guide your team in the right direction. You can zoom in and zoom out. You make the decisions that are grounded and not swayed by other people's opinions, behaviors. Like the difference. And with AI, where everything happens at the time, 100 times quickly than ever before, because AI processing power is like unbelievable. The human advantage in business is actually to pause and tap into your capabilities. You can't do critical thinking. You can't do strategic thinking. You can't be creative. You can't be innovative when you are stressed, because simply those capabilities are not available to you. The only time, the only thing you have available at that moment is to survive. Because your body thinks it's in danger. So actually, if you want to be that leader that leads in the new, you need to be actually the calm leader.
You will be able to. You also say you don't ask women to become someone else. I actually wonder if it's less about becoming and more about returning to the person we've always been underneath the pressure, the expectations, and all the roles we've learned to play. How do you see that?
It's a really, really interesting and really deep question. I think, absolutely. I think like being authentic, right? It's a bit of a buzzword. But I think when you are in that urgency state and in that constant, pressure, doing, being busy, like you lose yourself in it. And actually, but being able to go back to yourself, who you truly are, and show your true self is your advantage. I actually see, like, even if I look back myself or any of the leaders I've worked with, more yourself you are, more you bring yourself back to work with all your flaws, all your limitations, you're actually more relatable and people love working for you. Like, people will go extra miles for those leaders because they are just human beings.
Yes.
And they stop pretending that everything and that this perfect picture, which is just a mask you put, on yourself because you think is the right thing to do.
Yeah.
People can read between the lines, and people can feel it. So actually, being the great leader is like being yourself, bringing yourself to work. I found the difference. Like, more I'm being myself, Like whether it's sometimes silly, sometimes swearing, I'm just like who I am. I stopped for a very long time because I'm not very British, because I'm Eastern European. I'm quite direct. I used to be always told, you're too direct, you're too abrupt. Like, yes, like, so I had to adjust some of it because obviously it's a professional environment. But I am like, and people actually appreciate that. Like people say to me, I actually like talking to you, Dorota, because I know exactly where I stand.
Yeah.
Right. So I stopped trying to mold to something that I am not. And we're all unique individual. And why do we have to become, why do we have to put ourselves in the boxes to be like, robots just on go, 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 go. And we're all the same. I think that's what makes, the life a bit more fun as well. You can bring yourself, like to work with all of it. So I've never seen anyone who became to, who wanted to be themselves and who really showed up with all the flaws had any disadvantage. I think that usually those people excel.
Yeah.
And climb to the top. And have teams that love working for them. And I think that's really important. Because you can have people in your team, but if they hate coming to work and they do what they do, but you don't, you're unable to build the right culture in the firm.
Mm-hmm. I love your entire method, your whole framework. And a lot of times when you apply it and you start making a difference, part of that journey is grieving. You'll start grieving the identity that no longer serves you. And I think many women aren't simply changing habits. They're letting go of the person they thought they had to be. So is it possible? I was wondering what you thought about this. Is it possible to be incredibly successful, but completely disconnected from the person you thought you were? Do you think that it's possible to succeed and also be disconnected?
Is it, you mean disconnected from ourselves, from our true self?
Yeah.
You do have those successful people that are absolutely disconnected. But oh my God, how sad life that is.
Oh, yes.
Those, and there are many interviews with, with very successful people in the world. But I think the difference of the ones that are truly enjoying their life and what they have from that success, if there are people who can be themselves in all of it, because it is really tiring, constantly pretending that you are someone else. Like there is as much, as many years you can go like this, and also in the moment of stress, the true personality often comes out.
Yeah.
Probably the negative elements, not so the positive. But this is why it's important. You have to balance it with the good things, which also people often hide.
Yeah.
But it is, we were taught sometimes, and it comes from, again, it's not judgmental, right? We shouldn't be judging people because the way they go about in their adult life often comes from very early on, and because they've never had a chance to even think twice about whether that behavior is still serving them or not. It's another, it's a question they never get a chance to ask themselves. So I often say it may be not nice for all the CEOs and board people to hear, but often those people, we have 7-year-olds or 10-year-olds running our adults' life. We've picked up those behaviors as children because they served us, because they kept us safe. And we never changed them as grown-ups.
Yeah. That is true. That is so true. Many of us have spent years, sometimes decades, trying to meet expectations that were laid on us very early in our lives. Because of those expectations, we become an achiever, a caretaker, a peacekeeper, the one who always holds everything together. Because that's what we're supposed to do. If someone listening right now realizes, I don't even know who I am without all that, where can they begin?
So I'll tell you where I began. when I thought, who am I really? Who am I? Like really inside. I went back to my very early childhood and I asked myself, what little Dorota loved doing? What were the little things? What are the skills? What she as if I was her mom, if I looked at her, what are the things she used to strive, with?
Mhm.
Like what were her skill set? What she was great at? What she was enjoying doing? Because often these are the skills. And now as a mom of two girls, like we know who we are very early on. But again, another like metaphor I like to use, but from very early childhood, we being wrapped in a little foil. Or there is like all these sticky notes being put who we should be, right? So you stop seeing who you truly are, who you want to be, the things you love doing, like what brings you joy at the very, basic level. And you start picking up what you should be doing, all the things that should bring you joy and, all the things. Nothing is yours.
Yeah.
And I think as an adult, our responsibility to live the life to fullest and to really enjoy our life is start unpicking all these labels.
Yeah.
And for me, like when I got to is like, I love to perform. Like I love to like, I used to coach people very early on, but I used to coach them like with maths, physics, but I had ability from early on. And this is where I dig in. I decided I want to do more coaching because that brings me joy. It fills my cup. Because from early on, I had the ability to explain complex things in a simple way. I was able to spot pattern. I love to perform. I love to sing. I love to being on stage. But equally, I love being with my friends. But I never had a big, huge, group of friends. I'm not a friend to everyone. I struggle to meet new people. This forced networking is not my thing. But I do love my own people, right? So when I go now to summer to Poland, I still meet the same primary school kids that used to go with. We knew each other from like 3-5-year-olds, and we still meet. And that's all I need to then fill my cup to last the whole year when I'm doing the work. So no, I haven't changed my job and just did what I loved to do as a kid, but digging in and bringing back those little moments that really, when I'm really thriving, and something that really, that is true me, like at the core, it's really important because that balance. Yeah, we're still an adult, we still live in the world that we all have to pay for the bills and we have to have a job to sustain the living. But it's really important to get that joy and that, that feeling of lightness in your life. You need to just realize who you truly are. And then that means that any labels at work becoming less relevant. I don't give a damn what people talk about me anymore because I know who I am. I know I'm trying my best. And whatever I'm doing at work, I'm doing at my best with everything I know in the time, with all the experience I have. And there is no way I could have done something better. And it has to be enough. Yeah. I'm happy to take feedback. I'm happy to learn, and I'm going to get better, and I'm going to improve next time. But for now, I'm not going to beat myself over something because it was, I've not delivered something perfectly, because perfection doesn't exist for the start. But, this is what, when you do that work and you dig in and you stop attaching self-worth to others people's opinion, this is that changes completely kind of, how you live your life.
Dorota, what I also like is that you make it so common sense and commonsensical. Is that a word? But, and simple. You've simplified something that a lot of people complicate. And it's more about creating success that no longer costs us our peace, our health, or the people we love. Thank you for sharing that wisdom with us today. Before we wrap up, if someone listening is quietly thinking, she is talking about me.
Mm.
Tell us about the confidential call you offer.
Yes. So I offer one-to-one coaching, which is 8-week program that's going through my framework and really raising awareness, learning how to regulate, giving you tools and techniques. And we work together. I'll give you the accountability that you need. We rewire you, and then we set you up for success, because nothing's going to work if we don't have enough foundations and we don't build the habit and rewire how you think about yourself and the beliefs you have about yourself. And then we equip you with everything you need for sustained success long term. So yes, we can put the link to my website where you can book a call with me. I take small number of people because I'm still full-time. I take small number of people every month, one-to-one coaching. But I also do free workshops if anyone wants to dip in and do some early work to try on whether that's something it's for them or not. I'm running the last one very soon, but they'll be coming after summer. So there'll be more on my LinkedIn website and my Instagram page as well.
Wonderful. And we'll make sure and have all of that in the show notes, everybody. And don't be nervous about taking a step to finding accountability and help. I mean, it's a coach like Dorota that's all she does. That's what she does. That's what she is passionate about, is about helping people find themselves and find peace. But you first have to take a step in that direction. And I think that that confidential call that she offers could start out. Just give it a shot. See if it's right for you. It may not be. It may not be a good fit, but you're not going to know unless you give it a try.
Absolutely.
So if you're so welcome, if today's conversation resonates with you, I hope that you'll connect with Dorota through the links that, again, we'll put in the show notes. And if you'd like these conversations to continue beyond the podcast, I'd love to invite you to subscribe to my weekly newsletter. It's called Behind the Mic. And it's where I share reflections, practical takeaways, and behind the scenes moments inspired by each guest on each episode. So we feature them, and I talk about what I personally felt during the interview. And it gives you a lot of information that you can use. So please join us and subscribe at newsletter.delaythebinge.com and just come into the village. I always say that it takes a village. If you're enjoying Delay the Binge, please take a moment to follow the podcast and leave a review. It only takes a minute, but it helps more people discover these conversations, these experts, these amazing people. And it allows us to continue bringing them to you with practical tools and whatever you need most. And remember, you don't have to fix everything today. You don't have to know the whole road. You only have to pause long enough to ask, what's the next right thing for me? Until next time, pause, choose, build momentum, and finish stronger. Thanks again, Dorota. We appreciate you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a wonderful conversation.
Yes. And I'll see everybody next week.
Thank you.
Hey, it's me, Pam. And before we go, just a quick reminder. Everything we share here is meant to encourage, educate, and get you thinking. But it's not a substitute for professional mental health, medical, legal, financial, or any other licensed advice. I'm simply someone who's walking through life, learning right alongside you. And I'm grateful we get to learn together. Always seek the guidance of a qualified professional for your unique situation. Thanks for spending this time with us. Until next time, remember, sometimes the biggest change begins with one small pause. I'll see you on the next episode of Delay the Binge.